trial over the most destructive fire in Colorado history is just around the corner. Or is it? Some Marshall Fire survivors just got a confusing offer to settle.
You have to believe that both sides are essentially ready for trial already.
A statewide analysis says President Trump's tariffs are already costing Coloradans some serious cash. After getting sidelined by an injury, the team decided on an ambitious summer project.
I was like, why not do the Colorado Trail?
And a DIY skate park brings life to a dark space, but it might be short-lived.
We knew that it was possible that one day that this would get shut down.
Hop on, we're skating tonight on Next. Dozens of Marshall Fire survivors just received a notice of how they could avoid going to court against Xcel Energy. A civil lawsuit against the energy company over the state's most destructive fire is set to begin in Boulder later this month. Then yesterday, a letter was sent from an out-of-state law firm detailing a settlement offer for more than 50 survivors. The letter was shared with our Marshall Zellender, and when he started asking questions about it, he learned there is no real settlement offer. Here's Marshall to explain.
The Marshall Fire is the most costly wildfire in state history. It killed 2 people and destroyed 1,084 homes and businesses. A civil trial is set to begin 3 weeks from today, with thousands of survivors, insurance companies, and Boulder County suing Xcel and 2 other companies, Quest and Teleport Communications. Dozens of survivors represented by a San Diego law firm received this email yesterday with the subject line, Marshall Fire Litigation, Notice of Global Settlement Offer. We have blurred the letter because when we called the law firm to ask questions about it, we were told it was inadvertently sent and there is no settlement offer.
The number of plaintiffs and the damages are staggering, which makes it an uphill battle for anybody to settle this case in a way that's going to satisfy everyone.
9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson reviewed the letter for us, which described the risks of going to trial and how every plaintiff involved in the case must agree to a settlement for it to be accepted. But even if you agree, you're not guaranteed a payout.
A take it or leave it offer, everyone has to agree to it. It's never going to fly. That's a doomed settlement proposal.
In a statement, an Xcel spokesperson said, "We have not made any settlement offers in this case," which is in line with what Xcel's CEO said on an investor earnings call at the end of July.
We're planning to go to trial. We're always open to settlement discussions, but we have to start with the idea that our equipment didn't cause that second ignition. We maintain that.
If the case goes to trial, a jury would have to decide if Xcel or any of the other companies are liable, and if so, to what percentage and how much. Here's an example of what I mean. In 2018, there was an explosion at Heather Gardens in Aurora, which killed a woman. An Xcel gas line was hit by workers installing cable lines for Comcast. The woman's family sued. Comcast and each contractor settled before trial. Xcel went to trial, and a jury found them partially responsible for the explosion, but only for 12% of the damages, which totaled close to $4 million. So again, if you go to trial, you got to figure out how much in damages, if there are any, and then who has how much percentage of those damages.
Oh boy. So today, the law firm sent out an oopsie email.
Yeah, just in the last 30 minutes, I got sent what was sent to these clients. There was no settlement offer. A mediator came to those terms. And by the way, we understand someone leaked it to the media. Please keep this confidential for attorney-client privileges. It's like there was just as much about shame on you for sharing it than there was we shouldn't have sent this to you. It wasn't an official offer.
Feels like they're mad that Marshall Zellender found out.
Oh, yes.
My words, not yours. Marshall, appreciate your reporting. Keep it up. A new report from the state shows sweeping tariffs imposed by the Trump administration are already having a big impact on Colorado's economy, and not in a good way. Trump has imposed high tariff rates on Canadian, Mexican, and Chinese goods, which account for around half of Colorado's imports. Governor Polis requested a tariff impact analysis through an executive order back in July. The state's budget office now found that Coloradans are facing the highest effective tariff rates in more than a century and paying more across nearly every industry. They also estimate the state is on track to lose more than $400 million next fiscal year.
Today, Coloradans are paying 7 times more in tariff taxes than 1 year ago, with the effective rate skyrocketing from 3% to 21%. The industry's hardest hit are those that in many ways power our state, including energy, literally powering our state, agriculture, construction, aerospace.
The report warns that more tariff hikes could soon lead to a state recession. Colorado was part of a group of states that sued over the Trump administration's tariff policies. An appeals court found sweeping tariffs against most of our trade partners were illegal, but they'll stay in place as Trump tries to send that case to the Supreme Court. We got yet another reminder this week why it's extremely unlikely that cities will ever stop using the car tracking flock camera system. Even with all the concerns raised about privacy and data being shared with federal immigration agents, the speed in which it helps solve crimes seems to outweigh all of that.
He did get a picture of the license plate of the vehicle that the suspect fled in.
When a construction worker was shot on Monday by a man who was mad he was told to slow down, the suspect fled, but he couldn't hide.
The deputies were able to circulate that license plate number. There was a hit on our camera system.
Deputies in Adams County quickly used the car tracking flock cameras to arrest the man at his house. And it's not the first time. Homicides, burglaries, even a multi-million-dollar jewelry heist from the Cherry Creek Mall was solved with the help of the flock cameras.
This flock has been a great tool for all of us.
This system has been really invaluable.
It is a wonderful tool, again, not only for us, but for the victims.
In city council chambers and far beyond, investigators and police officers rave about the cameras. At the same time, questions swell over the privacy concerns raised by a system that can track someone's constant movement.
Those cameras are silently taking an image of every single car that drives by. In fact, they've given access to probably the federal agency that people would be the most concerned about.
As cities around Colorado lock down their data and promise that information is not shared with ICE, it's easy to see why calls to abandon the system completely go unheard.
Heaven forbid you have your kid in the back of a car and it gets stolen. You want us to be able to know right away where that car is. That's critically important. We have to keep those cameras up.
Events like the shooting this week remind us the flock cameras are likely here to stay.
They do have a person now in custody that is a person of interest.
City of Denver promised to create an advisory task force to help the city walk the line between privacy and security. We're told that board has already had their first meeting, though no information has been released about what's been discussed. We had a bit of a shouting match on Capitol Hill today, and Colorado Democrat Michael Bennet was at the center of it. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced bipartisan criticism from senators in D.C. today as he tried to defend the Trump administration's massive shifts on vaccine policy. He wouldn't answer questions from senators like Bennet, who asked whether Kennedy's policies were cutting off access for people who want to get vaccinated. Earlier this week, CVS and Walgreens announced they were restricting access to updated COVID-19 vaccines, including 16 states, including Colorado. For the first time, they're requiring a doctor's prescription for most healthy patients who want the shot. The pharmacies say they're waiting on a recommendation from a federal vaccine advisory board, the same board that Kennedy replaced all the members of earlier this year, with members who share his skepticism for vaccines. Senator Bennet pressed him on the board's upcoming review of several common vaccines for things like COVID, hepatitis B, measles, mumps, rubella, and RSV.
The panel recommends changing the vaccine schedule for children. Do you anticipate that fewer children will receive these common vaccinations, yes or no?
What I would say, Senator,
the obvious answer is yes. I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership.
The state has tried to add new safeguards against federal vaccine restrictions. This week, Colorado State Chief Medical Officer issued a standing order that will allow pharmacies to offer COVID-19 vaccines without a prescription. Summer break, usually a time to relax, unless you're this kid.
Miles just completed the all 480 miles of the Colorado Trail from Durango to Denver.
Yeah, he did. An emotional homecoming for a 16-year-old who just wrapped up a month-long trek. And small skate parks take up a bridge space that isn't really being used in Littleton. Now the creators hope it's there to stay. CDOT, though, isn't so sure. That's next. Teenagers can really test their parents' patience. Then there's one kid from Evergreen not only putting his parents' patience to the test this summer, but their trust in him as well.
Yep, Colorado Trail. It's awesome. I'm Miles Southard, I'm 16 years old, and I hiked the entire Colorado Trail, mostly solo, from Durango to Denver. We're at Waterton Canyon Trailhead. This is where I ended August 15th.
Took them 35 days with 3 rest days mixed in there, so 32 days of hiking and 3 days of kind of recovery.
This is my awesome dad, Christopher Southard, who let me do this journey.
You can get through those smaller things that seem so big at the time if you can look back and go, well, it's really not that big of a deal.
This all started like October 2024, where I had a varsity football game and I broke my tibia and fibia. While I was sitting on the couch, I'm like, I can't play baseball, I can't play football. Why not do the Colorado Trail? Mom and Dad were a little hesitant, but they obliged.
You know, when your kid says he wants to do something, he sets a lofty goal, be supportive as opposed to being questioning, is this really the right thing to do?
Hugging my mom at the end, and I haven't seen Mom really since Gunnison, so this was a very meaningful hug that we had.
Saw him and his 2 buddies coming around the corner, and it was just a very emotional time for me. So I hadn't seen him in a while, and I know it meant a lot to him, so it was great. Yeah.
And I remember Dad whispered in my ear, like, Miles, you hiked 500 miles. Kind of looking at the Colorado Trail as like one of my big accomplishments sets me up for doing harder stuff in the future.
Kid's awesome. Hey, turning to the weather now with Chris Bianchi. Chris, I know you've seen all that talk online from a bunch of people about some Arctic air coming into Colorado tomorrow. Are you kidding me? It's September. Great for clicks. Made me grab my winter coat, and yours too. But seriously, this deserves some context and some winter weather survival tips for when we hit a gnarly 72 tomorrow.
I know. There's been a little bit of hype, but we're going to make fun of this a little bit here. 72 in Denver tomorrow. Let's take off this hood and show you. It's going to be in the 60s and 70s for tomorrow, right? We've got a cold front that's moving its way on through. This air mass does originate in southern Canada, but, well, it's going to be in the low 70s for tomorrow. So be sure to pack a light jacket. I want to just get you some of those survival tips for this coming up for tomorrow. You may want to switch from iced coffee to hot coffee for tomorrow. And if you start feeling a little bit too comfortable, because of course 72, it will be room temperature around midday tomorrow, you may want to get indoors and immediately seek shelter if you're just feeling a bit too comfortable for tomorrow. Otherwise, that radar picture right now, we are seeing some gusty showers, including here in the metro area. One thing to just keep an eye for is we do have some localized dry microbursts producing, in some cases, some 60-mile-an-hour winds on the south and west side of town. Those showers are dissipating as we speak. Otherwise, the main story, cold front moving through as we speak. That'll arrive and bring us some gusty showers for us for tonight and to tomorrow, and those showers will stick around into parts of Saturday, and especially for your Sunday. So that 7-day forecast, if you like the Arctic air of 72 degrees for us on Friday, enjoy it while it lasts, because we're back into the 80s for us and back straight into summer for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. So again, that Arctic air mass, it's got about 24 hours for us here in the Denver area.
I had to take the coat off, too hot. For years on Next, we've recommended journalism and work that others have done that isn't ours, but is still worth your time. In that spirit, we're airing a multi-part project in defense of journalism. It's called A Matter of Fact. For the next 11 weeks, we'll be airing a series of shorts put together by Coloradans determined to prove to Americans that journalism isn't partisan, it's patriotic.
News providers are all competing for your attention, just like businesses compete for your money, based on your likes and interests, which today is measured by your clicks. They use the headlines like bait on a hook to get your attention. Partisan news sources will use more inflammatory language, imagery, and even colors and fonts. Look at these examples. Notice the loud red font and sensational language. You can tell a more objective news organization from its less colorful, black and white headlines and few, if any, adjectives. As the user, you're giving any news organization the instructions they need to target you. They're counting up every click in every news website you choose to read, listen to, and watch. All of this data is being used to reinforce the content and ideas you've already proven you like, and block out the things that you don't like. The result is you're being steered toward a more limited view of everything around you. As a matter of fact, you're getting left out of a lot of valuable viewpoints, other stories and perspectives, where you have the opportunity to learn something new. The good news is you can change this by exposing yourself to ideas that you agree and disagree with. Share your attention wisely with a variety of trusted sources. Remember, you're the one giving the instructions. And that's a matter of fact.
And we'll share more short episodes of A Matter of Fact each Thursday through early November, when we'll air a documentary showing Colorado's journalists at work. You can learn more about the project on 9news.com/freepress.
We want this to be an inclusive environment. We want people to come down here and enjoy it.
It's a space for everyone, at least for now. Skaters hope the state won't pump the brakes on their DIY skate park. Next. There's an unused space under a bridge in Littleton. CDOT owns the land, but no one's really using it for anything. So when some skaters decided to turn it into a makeshift skate park, it seemed like perhaps a good use of that space. We'll see if CDOT agrees. Here's Amy Hunter.
We try to stay on top of keeping it clean.
An old space has a new life, thanks to Grant Aaron and Matthew Eller.
We're trying to make this a spot that is not such an eyesore anymore.
About a month ago, the two made a DIY skate park under a bridge at Santa Fe and Bellevue.
It's just a perfect spot that's not really being utilized for anything.
It offered a place to go after the closest indoor skate park, Curbside, shut down in 2024.
There's not a whole lot of covered places to skate in Colorado, and that really becomes a problem in the winter time, rainy months, and even in the summertime.
The two installed curbs and pipes for tricks and thought their DIY space was good to go. Until last week, when police told them they'd need to leave.
If they're not wanting you guys down here, then yeah, there's not much we can do about it.
Matthew reached out to CDOT, which owns the space, to see what they could do.
Nobody has given us a good answer yet on what is the intent of this space. Why does it need to stay empty?
CDOT shared that the two needed to follow a permitting process, but that it's use of CDOT road that is likely not permitted under any circumstances.
This has to be at least $100,000 worth of concrete and bricks. Why not make it a space for the community?
Grant and Matthew's DIY skate park may have seen its last days, but they still hold out hope that CDOT will let it live.
It's just like any other skate park, and that's really what we're trying to get the people involved to see. It's just the infrastructure's already here. Let's utilize it and make use of it.
I don't know, it just seems silly to not at least give us a shot.
For Next, I'm Amy Hunter.
CDOT told us they're working with local partners to learn more about the situation. City of Littleton says it's up to CDOT whether it stays or not, and told people to use their outdoor skate park that they already have. That, of course, gets difficult in the winter. Let the people skate. Let them have their skate park. Your feedback is next. Your feedback tonight comes in the form of more Arctic air survival tips for when we drop down into 72 tomorrow. Sean says, wear a regular t-shirt instead of a sleeveless tank. Not a bad idea. Sandy says, wear closed shoes instead of sandals. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. Closed shoes instead of sandals. I hope you survive the winter weather, the Arctic air that's moving in tonight. It's going to be 72 tomorrow. Bundle up. We'll see you next time.